Welcome to the American Warrior Festival podcast, a celebration of our troops, veterans, and American way of life. I'm your host, Dan Clor. Hello, American Warrior Festival family. This is episode 6 of the American Warrior Festival podcast, and today's theme is titled One Foot in Front of the Other. One foot in front of the other, a phrase we have heard since boot camp. I remember the days of long humps up the hill. The packs got heavier, the skin on your feet starts to peel away, the sound of canteens swishing around. Boots slam to the ground and get heavier and clunkier with every mile. Your helmet digs into your skull, and your weapon seems to gain weight with every step. The gear buckling with sounds of straps, clamps, and fasteners struggling against the odds. Will they hold true? This is the soundtrack of the military hump. When a service member would dare think of throwing in the towel by jumping on the meat wagon, aka a vehicle that would be in tow, the drill instructor would bark out, "Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, nasties. That's all you need to do." It seemed like a simple concept, and when the sweat was burning in your eyes, the sun was beating down on you, and your body was giving out, this was exactly the phrase that was needed to keep you going. And keep going we did. Nothing felt better than the last step, the relief and the accomplishment of finishing your mission. One foot in front of the other is also a metaphor for life. Whether you are serving in the military or a civilian, we can all learn a lot from this phrase. When you feel beaten down and your world feels like it's falling apart, all you have to do is get up and take that first step. Achieve that first victory. Build momentum, confidence, and pride with every step. Don't let the moment get too big. Missions are accomplished by breaking objectives into smaller goals that then add up to the final achievement. Break it down into one small step in action. This is how winning is done. Our guest in today's episode is the epitome of taking life one step at a time. A man who knows as well as anyone what it means to put one foot in front of the other. Army veteran Van Booth embarked on his cross-country trek titled Walking for Life to raise money and awareness for veteran causes in 2019. Van walked over 3,100 miles and took 7.1 million steps to get from Southern California to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The trip took 10 months. What a phenomenal story and a great example of putting one foot in front of the other. The American Warrior Festival podcast brought to you by the Red Osier Landmark Restaurant, Western New York's premier dining experience, known for its amazing prime rib and dedication to the veteran community. Visit them online at theredosier.com. Please welcome our good friend, Army veteran Van Booth. Van walked across the country from San Juan Capistrano, California, all the way to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, to raise awareness for veteran causes. Hey, Van, how's it going, brother?
Hey there. How you doing, Dan? How you doing?
Oh, we're doing great, man, and real excited to have you on today and talk about your amazing journey. I mean, I was able to follow you on Facebook and check your progress, and so this is just a real exciting segment here for us today.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were all quite busy last year. Between my walking and then you guys traveling around the country. I was following you guys too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we were just road dogs all across the board here.
No kidding. I would see you guys in New York, and the next thing you know, you're in Nashville, and I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed you guys.
Oh, you know what? We're going to have to I tell you what, we actually have some pretty good seeds being planted in Nashville right now and Tennessee in general.
Nice.
We're actually looking into doing some events at some of Nashville's greatest firing ranges.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, you got Barrett. It's just right down the road, I believe, in Murfreesboro. That make the 50 cals. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. See, we're going to need to tie it in with them as well.
Yeah.
So now, Van, let's tell the people a little bit about your background and your military career.
Sure. Yeah, I was born in Melbourne, Florida, and moved to Tennessee when I was a child, and joined the United States Army active duty as a grunt, as an infantryman in 1995. Served a full 20 years and retired in 2016. Served, did a tour in Kosovo back before 9/11. did several years over in Iraq. Did some combat tours over there and stuff, and lost a lot of buddies along the way, and unfortunately, but somehow stuck it through and made it to retirement in 2016, and returned back home to Tennessee.
Congratulations on a full career there. I mean, yeah. The veterans such as yourself that did a full 20. I mean, that's quite an achievement. And I know, when that day came, you must have felt really fulfilled with a good long career. And like you said, we know in the military, there's the great times, there's the tough times, there's the camaraderie between us all. It really is a whole range of emotions in it with a full military career like that, and a lot of experiences.
Absolutely. When the last day I was over at Fort Lewis, Washington, and then just suddenly hit me. I was like, my whole adult life has been the military. It's pretty much all I've done since graduating high school. And now I got to navigate this new whole world, getting ready to turn 40 years old and being a civilian for the first time in my adult life at age 39, 40. And it's almost overwhelming sometimes.
Yeah. Now, how was that? Like the retirement and then your first, say your first couple days or your first weeks, tell the people what that was like for a 20-year man in the military and kind of like those first experiences. Okay, what do I do now?
Yeah, it's this. Well, at first it's all you're pretty elated. You're pretty happy because you really have true freedom in the sense of you don't have the military telling you what to do every day. You don't have to shave every day. Immediately started growing my facial hair out, and I was looking forward to this cross country road trip back to Tennessee. And I took 2 weeks, took my time, and it's like I could wake up whenever I wanted, and everything was just great. And you get home and you get settled in and you go visit family and. But then, after a while, then you start missing a lot of the camaraderie, because I've been away from home for 20 years. So nobody, and I wasn't here very long before I left for the Army. So I didn't know hardly anybody here. So just a few family and stuff like that. So it didn't take long before I was like, and then on top of that, 3 months after I retired, the VA rated me. It was pretty quick. And next thing I know, I was 100% and fully retired. And like, okay, now what? What do I do now? I can't just sit around for the next 30, 40 years, so I had to start figuring out what to do. So I started doing hobbies. I started getting involved with my local county government. The mayor called me and asked me to be on the Veterans Oversight Committee in the county to make sure the VSO's doing his job and just different little things. And I started getting back into concerts again and music again, and but there was still just, I don't know, something missing there. And 2017, probably my worst year. I started spiraling down. It's just, I don't know. I got a lot of the PTSD and all the stuff from combat, and you're so busy, you don't have time to stop and think. And it's kind of like the Vietnam veterans, a lot of those guys put everything, they didn't think about this stuff. And these days you're having a lot of Vietnam veterans retiring, and a lot of old demons are coming back to those guys. And a lot of my demons were coming back to me too, thinking about, I lost my best friend overseas, and I lost about 15 good friends that I knew personally. But losing my best friend probably hit me the hardest in 2012. But now I'm retired and I'm thinking about them a lot more, so I started it was 2017 was a bad year.
See, in Van, it's kind of one of those things where the silence is so loud after a while, right?
Deafening. Absolutely deafening.
Because, like you said, those first couple months, maybe after you retire, it's kind of like the tour of spending time with family. Like you said, just letting your beard grow out. Waking up when you want to. All those things, and that rides for a while, right? And then it
rides for a while. Yeah, it gets old.
For sure.
Yeah. And then you start, you get to a point where you're living in your head, and I started spiraling down, and I actually contemplated suicide and everything like that, because I figured, well, the best thing I ever did in my life was the military, and there's nothing I could think of that I can do to achieve that level ever again. So I started, just thinking, well, probably best if I wasn't here. And I got a really good friend of mine, Charlie Daniels, my Southern rock daddy, I guess I call him. But I tuned into the Grand Ole Opry because he was on that night, and he donated his time slot to military veterans to go on stage and do their songs that they did with Operation Song. That's what got me. That's what kind of got me involved with them, and that program helped save my life because after listening to that, I was invited to go to Nashville. I contacted those guys. They invited me to Nashville, and I got to write a song about my best friend just to kind of help give me some closure. And I wrote a song about my best friend, and then I felt, I don't know, it brought me out of myself, and it was so powerful to me that I wanted to do something to give back, and that's kind of when I started thinking about doing this walk.
So Van, this is a cool thing too, because a lot of your interests, I mean, besides the military, you seem to be very into music. Now, do you play as well, or have you always played? Or are you a musician?
No, I used to. I used to play the violin, fiddle. Well, we call it fiddle down here. I used to play fiddle, a little bit of guitar. I did it in school a little bit, but once I got into the military, that kind of over time, it just kind of got put away. But I was always drawn to it. If anything, as a fan, I got stationed in Texas, my very first tour, and then that's I was not too far from Austin, Texas, and it's like live music.
Oh,
I couldn't help but be immersed in music. It was everywhere all the time. And after 3 years in Texas, then I go to Germany and just they have some great music festivals in Europe, and it just seemed like everywhere I go, it was there in my face somewhere. And but yeah, after I retired, I kind of was I'm living kind of close to Nashville. It's kind of everywhere, even it even reaches kind of out where I'm living out here in whiskey country.
Yeah, see that's what's great for us. I mean, we feel very lucky to use, music, live music and concerts and events are our main vehicle to reach our veteran family and our military family. So
absolutely,
we're very closely linked in what our passions are here together. That's why it's also great to have you on too, because there's so many great organizations out there, from ones that take veterans on nature trips and hunting trips, right, fishing. There's
absolutely
scuba diving organizations, just so many different kinds of organizations out there, and that's what I love about it.
Yes,
and ours, we get to do it with the live music vehicle. So
yes, and there's something. I mean, I always tell veterans when I talk to them, there's something for everybody. If music's not your thing, then seek out what you. When I talk to these guys that are struggling, I say, think of something that you used to enjoy, and then go find that through an organization, or try to find organizations that do, if it's rock climbing, if it's, if it's horses, or whatever it is they used to enjoy, if it's concerts. I mean, I went to so many concerts, like hundreds before I went to Iraq, but then I noticed, I didn't think about it for years, but after I went to combat, I noticed I didn't go at all anymore. I used to go to at least 50 concerts a year, and then now it's zero. After 2005, after my first tour, I didn't want to be in crowds. I didn't want to be near people or anything. And it just became pretty reclusive, So that was something I knew I used to enjoy, but I didn't know if it was because I was getting older or what it was. But a lot of it was just, I didn't, it was just being around crowds.
See, Van, that's a great point, because think about it too. I think when veterans go through a lot of the experiences that we go through here, it's one of those things where sometimes you can forget some of those things that you were all about when you were growing up and you were just learning about life. Right. A lot of those things kind of get pushed back. And sometimes those old friends and those old anchors are just the thing needed to get back to a healthy mindset and to want to live another day. Absolutely. Some of them are just below the surface. You just got to figure out a way to bring them back up again, Absolutely. That's a great point. So why don't we let's talk about this great walk across the country. I mean, let's talk about how you kind of got the wild hair there to kind of grab that idea and run with it and actually do it. I mean, it's such an amazing feat to walk across the country. And what's perfect too is, what we decided to call this episode in honor of you, Van, is just one foot in front of the other. And
Oh, yeah.
we feel, I remember in the Marine Corps when, you're on one of those big humps and the skin's starting to fall off your feet and the pack gets heavier.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Oh, yes.
They just say, gents, it really is an easy concept. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And
that's it. Just keep stepping it out,
One at a time, right?
So it's mental. Keep going. Absolutely.
Keep going. Yeah,
keep
try
going.
to stay off the meat wagon, right? You don't want to be ended up in the meat wagon. And
that's right.
So, so when you think about it, it's a great metaphor for anyone in life that maybe they have an obstacle and they're like, how the hell am I going to tackle this mountain or this objective? And it just starts with that first step. So let's lead off into that and talk about your big walk.
So yeah, it would have been early 2018, about March. I got to thinking, after I'd just come off this big high and I was starting to write these songs with all these other veterans and songwriters. And I was like, back in just before I retired from the Army, I blurted it out one day to my soldiers. I was like, you know what I'd like to do one day? And I was getting ready to retire. And I didn't think I'd actually do it then. I was like, I'd like to walk across America. And they're like, why? I was like, well, think about it. I mean, I served my country for 2 decades of my life. It'd be nice to kind of just get out and see my country, but at a slower pace. Just 2 miles an hour, walk from one end to the other. Back then, I was just saying it. I didn't even think I'd actually do it. But the thought was there. And then after doing all the songwriting stuff and with Operation Song and Freedom Sings, I was like, what a way to give back to them. And also, for me, maybe a therapeutic pilgrimage to kind of just go out there and take some time and see who I could run into and just kind of play it by ear. But I announced it right out of the blue. One day I just threw it out. I didn't tell nobody. I just announced it. And to my mom and everybody, my family and everybody's like, what? And just announced it out of the blue. And I said, I'm leaving in 3 months. And but once I started researching it, I wanted to be successful at it. I didn't just want to just like jump out there and start walking. I wanted to make sure, well, if I'm going to do this, it's a monumental. I want to make it good. I want to plan it. I want to make sure I'm successful. So once I realized how big of an undertaking it was, I decided to put it off until February of 2019. And in the meantime, what I did was I started assembling gear. I researched. It took me longer to plan the walk than to actually walk the walk, oddly enough. And I assembled gear. I knew I couldn't carry a rucksack anymore. I did for 20 years in the Army as a grunt, and my back and knees are just tore up. So I was like, well, how am I going to do this with all my disabilities and still be able to do it? And I was like, well, I just need to do it. And so I got a cart to push all my gear in for camping, food, everything I needed, and decided, I'm going to self-fund it. I'm going to go that way. I'm really free. I can just go out there and walk. I don't have to answer to people or sponsors, or I could just go do it and take my sweet time and just do it my own way. And that's kind of how I went about it. Then I started talking to folks who actually walked across America, and the advice they gave me was profound. Some of the advice they gave me I would have never thought of, like alternate sides of the road you walk on, because if you walk on one side of the road for so long, you'll break bones in your feet because the road slants just so much, so you put more pressure on one foot than the other. Little things like that. What type of socks, powder, all that good stuff. One thing I learned is definitely the biggest thing is keep your feet dry. But all those folks really, really were a great wealth of knowledge. And then I finally set a date, and I said, all right, February 23rd, 2019. The reason I picked February, it's all by weather. Everything, you know how it is. You served in the Marines. If you're outside walking enough, weather impacts everything.
Greatly.
So I was like, I don't want to walk through the desert in the heat of the summer, and I don't want to walk through South Carolina in the, heat of the summer. So I had to plan literally all the way across the country by what the weather's doing at certain parts of the country. So I did route planning. I spent hours looking at satellite photos trying to pick my route, because I walked mainly on road surfaces, the sides of the shoulders of the road, because I had this big clunky cart that I had to push up and down these mountains and, the Rockies and the Sierra Nevadas. And so I had to pick my roads very carefully because of the traffic, and I was trying to stay very rural and trying to find roads with road shoulders, and boy, it was a challenge. And then once you get on the ground, things change a little bit, so I had to alter my route a little bit here and there. But yeah, it ended up, I kicked it off, and we had a big launch party in San Juan Capistrano, California, and then off I went. Next thing I know, I was in Palmdale, Lancaster, and then I made my way to Lake Tahoe, California, which is kind of a big jumping off place. And I hit U.S. Route 50, pretty much took Route 50, loneliest road in America, through Nevada, all the way through Utah, Colorado, straight through Kansas, through Missouri, all the way to Illinois, and then made my way to Evansville, Indiana. Then I broke south, went through Kentucky, Tennessee, all the way down to Alabama. Then I turned and headed back east again, went through Georgia and on to South Carolina. Ended up finishing New Year's Eve last year, 2019.
What a perfect day to finish on, right?
Right.
How'd you like Myrtle Beach? Have you ever been there before?
I had been. Yes, I had been there many times. Matter of fact, when I first planned my walk, I planned to start it in San Francisco and end it in Charleston. And but things changed throughout my planning and this and that. So my starting city changed and my ending city changed. But I'd been to Myrtle Beach many times. I realized I didn't know anybody in Charleston. It's a bigger city. But I had some military buddies that I served with in Korea and overseas and in Germany and Iraq and stuff that live in Myrtle Beach. So I figured, well, at least I got some folks there who could maybe help do a finish, or, at least I can get there and maybe run into one person I know when I finish. I had no idea what the finish would be like. I didn't really kind of plan anything. I just did it.
It's a great town. I like Myrtle Beach. I mean,
it is. Myrtle Beach is great.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, coming from being born and raised in Western New York, or a lot of New Yorkers would go down to Daytona and stuff for spring break, and my family liked Myrtle Beach, and so I have great memories as a kid and all the fun things we did there. So when I saw that you chose that, I was like, man, I miss Myrtle Beach. I have to get back down there.
Amazing it was. And then to spend New Year's there, because after all the festivities ended for the day and all the media interviews and everything kind of quieted down, I just got to spend time with my girlfriend, and we just went out to the beach. And there was some a Vietnam veteran and some veteran buddies of mine that came out from Tennessee, and we just walked to the beach and brought in a New Year's quietly on the ocean. It was just amazing.
What a great way to finish it off. It just sounds so awesome. Oh, yeah. And I bet you a lot of people don't realize how much planning goes into it. I mean, a lot of people probably look at it as just the walk itself, which is impressive in its own right. But I could just imagine you sitting down and going through all of those factors and all the different variables to try to give yourself the best chance for success. And
absolutely.
The planning, the great planning, and then adapting too.
Oh, yeah. And things changed all along the way. I had somebody that said they wanted to walk with me, and I was like, okay, I'll partner up with somebody. And then he backed out, and then I talked to a buddy of mine who was also in the Army many years ago. He did a walk across the country, and he said, yeah, my buddy walking with me, he quit after we didn't even make it out of the state before he quit. And so that changes everything. So I was like, you know what? I think maybe, because I don't want this to get out of my hands and out of control. I've had, and you've got a lot of people that'll try to scam you too. So you got to be careful of who kind of attaches to you. You got a lot of people that are kind of, use what you're doing for their bit, there's, for a while there, it was, people, a lot of people were coming on board, but it seemed like it was turning into a brand and a business, which is fine for people that want to do that. But that's not what I wanted to achieve. I didn't want any kind of fame or fortune or anything from it. They're like, well, what do you want out of it when you're done? I was like, nothing. I'm happy to just go back home and go back to living my life. This is more of a therapeutic kind of pilgrimage thing. And hopefully I can raise some money for these nonprofit veteran organizations along the way. And yeah, I was able to, I think, just over $10,000, along the way. I was able to raise for these folks.
That's
and
awesome.
then continue that even after the walk ended, through minor speaking engagements and stuff like that. But pretty much 100% of whatever I got, I donate to those folks, because going through the program myself, I know just how much it helps people, and I've witnessed it over and over and over how many veterans it's helped. And it is life-saving and life-changing. So I was like, you know what, I'm just going to give whatever I get to them.
And think about that, Van. Whenever a veteran is able to get themselves to a emotionally and spiritually healthy place, they then can reach their hand out and grab another veteran and try to bring them in with them to help them. Like every veteran that can heal himself or herself, you're able to then grab on and help help our family, and that's what it's all about.
Absolutely,
because we all have to be healthy ourselves,
Absolutely, and a lot of veterans, they're looking for a sense of purpose again. That's kind of, and I felt like I had this purpose now, and I was like, I want to do anything and everything I can to help these organizations out here, and also at the same time bring attention to the veteran suicide rate by any means necessary. And I was able to talk to a lot of people about that, and I was surprised how many people hadn't even heard about, how much of an epidemic it is. But any way I could get my message out, I would do it. And I was able to run into a lot of veterans who were having issues. A lot of Vietnam veterans, I was surprised. But these folks would find out I was in town, and they would come out. They would come out of the mountains and the hills to come talk with me, and I would sit. I've never done this before, but I've sat and cried with full-grown men, and I just shut my mouth and let these guys vent and let them talk. I ran into a veteran, and his name was Riley. He was a Vietnam veteran. He was from. He looked like Santa Claus. He had the longest beard I've ever seen, just white as snow, and he's from Hawaii, so he had this thick Hawaiian accent.
Really?
And I was like,
"That's interesting."
He's like, "Hey, bro." Yeah, I was like, "What are you doing in Colorado?" He goes, "Well, I was born and raised in Hawaii." But he said, I went to Vietnam and came back. But he said, bro, he goes, a lot of veterans that came back from Vietnam, a lot of them that were feeling lost ended up moving to Hawaii so they could search out the jungle and disappear into it again. He said a lot of Vietnam veterans died in Hawaii because they just went out there to the jungles in Hawaii and drank themselves to death. They just went out there and kind of were reliving, but they just disappeared from society and moved out to the jungles in Hawaii. And I was like, wow, I'd never even heard that before. He said, I had to get out of there or else I would have been one of those statistics. So he said he literally sold everything and moved to Colorado just to get into the mountains and get away from jungles. And
how interesting is that?
Do it.
Yeah. That's like familiar surroundings. Let me back in that place, that dark place. And that's definitely something that couldn't have been healthy for those guys.
Right. And, they didn't have the help, that's out there now.
Sure.
And so he just did it his own way, but he said there's a lot of them that didn't make it. They moved out to Hawaii and it was drugs and alcohol, I ran into a woman. I mean, I ran into so many people on this walk. A lot of these stories I never shared on, I had a Facebook page. I still have it open, but it's Walking for Life. A couple thousand people following it and stuff, but there's some stories I would share and some, they were just so personal. I was like, I'm gonna write this down in my journal. And then maybe I'll do a book, here in the future or something. But I got so many private messages from people. I had got one from a lady who she said, thank you for what you're doing. My father is a Vietnam veteran, committed suicide in 1978 when I was a child. And this is she's still thinking about this all this time later. And then I just kept running, and it was just bizarre how I would just run into people in these little tiny towns. I would go into a little town with the intention of just eating and keep on going. And I stopped in this town called Crawford, Colorado, and went into the Mad Dog Cafe, and I can't remember the name of the artist, a famous artist who lived there, singer. But anyway, he's buried there in town and everything. But I stopped at this cafe, and the bartender saw my cart, and I had a little sign on it, and she said, "Hey, hang on, I got somebody who would love to talk to you. He needs, he would love to meet you." And this man shows up, and I could just see it in his face. Just, you just know when you see it, I could just see the pain in this man's face. And we grabbed some beer and went out to the grass. And next thing I know, I spent 3 days in this town because veterans kept coming down off the mountains to hang out and talk. And so this man named Robert came down. He said, because my brother, He wasn't a veteran himself, but his brother died in Vietnam, and then his son died after coming back from Afghanistan. They don't know, they found him in the ravine. They don't know if it was suicide or if it was an accident and then right after that he loses his wife. So literally, most of his family pretty much gone, and so he didn't really have, I think he has a daughter, but. Yeah, he lost like 3 people in a short amount of time, between his brother in Vietnam and then his wife and then his son, so this guy was dealing with a lot of pain, and we sat and talked about that for many hours, and that was something I'll never forget, just the look on his face, and then him finally able to kind of just talk about it. But there was stories like this all across the country of people who I was like, wow.
Think about how many people you influenced on your spiritual journey for your, that you did to help yourself, and then you helped all these other people just by sitting down and listening and talking with them and the influence that you had.
I had no idea. I had no idea that this would even happen. I've had people, just pull over and talk to me, and I've had people pull over, jump out and give me a hug and say, oh, my daughter's in the Marines, and just literally bawling, crying, and people stop and pray with me on the side of the road, and people stop giving me money, and and I was like, no, I would always turn it away, and they say, no, I say, all right,
they want to help, and
they want to help people. I met way much more good people out there than bad. It gave me I guess for myself, it's like, wow, there's a lot of good people out here. It's not all bad. It's not all negative. There are good people all the way across the country. And I saw it in California. I saw it in every state I walked through, literally every single state. It was amazing. I got stories that can go on forever. Absolutely.
We need more of the positive of that. And basically you were experiencing some of the best parts of humanity right there.
Absolutely. And it's out there. I was blown away by it. I didn't know what to expect. A semi-driver stop, a police officer stop, and, hey, give me their personal cell. I had one state trooper in Nevada. He let me stay in his cabin, and it was, it was a blizzard coming in. And
oh, man.
He saved me hundreds of dollars in motel fees, because, he was like, hey, I'm from California, but I'm a state trooper here in Nevada. But, it's Austin, Nevada is like in the middle of nowhere. Like, I literally walked 1,000 miles through the desert. And so I'd have to do like 80 miles between towns. One stretch was 135 miles where I didn't see anything, not even a gas station. I saw nothing, just desert.
So how were those stretches, Van? How were the stretches where, because we're talking a lot about, the human contact and being able to talk with your fellow man here. But now what about those long stretches, a lonely road? How were those experiences?
Those were peaceful. I would wake up in the morning, it was all camping because there was no motels or anything. I would literally pull off the road, camp in the desert, and I'd wake up and I'd have pronghorn antelope all around me, or wild Mustang horses. And and the most beautiful sunrises and sunsets and everything from snakes to scorpions to whatever. And then hail, snow, ice, you name it. I experienced it. But there was those moments of like that would just stun you. Colorado, going through the Rockies. So, I went up to 11,000 feet. Was my highest elevation of my walk. But coming down through the Rockies, I'd come around the corner. You just don't, it kept me motivated every single morning. I'd wake up excited because I didn't know what I was going to see that day. Every single morning I woke up super excited about walking. I'd cook up my breakfast and my propane and all that stuff, and then I'd pack up and I'd hit the road. And because I was like, what am I going to see today? Sometimes I'd go 27 miles in a day. Some days I'd go 10 miles. It just depended on where the next town was or what happened that day. Sometimes I'd talk to people for several hours and it would eat up a lot of walking time. But I was like, whatever. It is. And after a while, I just got lost in it. My buddies kept, hey, when are you going to be in my town? When are you going to be in my town? And I was stressing, trying to come up with dates. And I was like, Eventually, I said, hey, I'll get there when I get there. And finally, that was my answer for everything. I'll get there when I get there. When are you going to be in Huntsville, Alabama? I'll get there when I get there. And it just kind of became that. And the further I went, the better I was able to kind of judge it. Like, I'll be there in October, But
you're able to eyeball it a little bit more, right? Yeah. Kind of forecast a little bit stronger as you went along. And
absolutely. You just get so used to it. But then the wildlife is, that alone, the bighorn sheep, I came around a corner in Colorado and it looked like the mountain was moving. And I was so stunned at what I saw. I sat down on the guardrail and literally for almost an hour and just watched bighorn sheep. They were teaching the babies, the young, how to jump the cliffs. And so there's a whole bunch of baby ones, ducks in a row, jumping the cliffs. Just like, how do they not fall off? But I sat there and watched them. And RVs and people just blowing by me and don't even realize what was happening. Right across the river, right up on the mountain, it's just covered in bighorn sheep. Just out doing their thing. It was amazing.
So you were always spending time with something, either a fellow human being, and wildlife, or the elements, right?
It was great because there were stretches where, I get into a town and some towns didn't even know I was coming through, and I would just quietly go through town. It just depended on how I felt. But if it was a bigger town, my girlfriend would call, she would get a hold of towns ahead of me, and she would at least contact the media and things like that. And but you just never know what's going to happen when you come into a town. I came into one town, and the folks there was a Veterans Home Alliance. I guess these folks in Colorado. It's kind of like the vet center, but it's like privately run. It's for veterans in that area. Welcome Home Alliance for Veterans. Well, anyway, they just happened to have the Vietnam Traveling Wall was in town, and then they had this World War II Avenger fighter plane or dive bomber. Well, they gave me a ticket and they put me up in a dive bomber and flew me around in this World War II plane that was built in like 1940s. Cool. Yeah, so I'm like flying over the Black Canyon of Colorado, seeing where my walk is going to, happen. And I was like, wow. One town I rode a steam train, and just different. I just didn't know what I was going to run into. And it was all part of the adventure, I guess.
Every day was something new, right? You're always like, what's heading my way today? Yeah, and it was exciting. It was very exciting to wake up with that feeling, And then I would see. I didn't listen to music at all on my walk, as much as I wanted to. Oh, really? Okay, that's a big thing.
I know. And my walk is so music related. I didn't listen to music because I had to be so hyper vigilant. It was exhausting because my head constantly, because I have thousands of cars that were passing me on the roadside all day.
So you just had to watch out for that alone, right there.
Constantly watching for cars so I wouldn't get run over. And they blow by you going 70, 80 miles an hour. Especially out west. And my danger was from behind because I'd be, even if I was on the left side of the road walking toward traffic, well, there's people that pass and they come up behind you pretty quickly and you don't hear them. So you turn around and boom, you're inches away from a vehicle passing another vehicle. And so I was constantly being hyper vigilant. And I was like, the name of my walk is Walking for Life, and it wouldn't look good if I got killed out here. So, yeah.
That's a great point. Kind of ruins the whole tag there, right? The whole philosophy.
It's like, well, that'd be embarrassing,
Oh man. Yeah, that's a great point too. Like just having to pay attention to your surroundings and keep yourself safe on those roads with vehicles flying by.
Absolutely. At night I would reward myself. Whenever I came off the road, I would just take my breath and I can relax. And I would write down. I had a notebook, and every day I wrote something in this notebook. How many miles what the temperature was sometimes, who I ran into that day if I did. If sometimes it was nobody, and then how many miles I walked that day, and I just tracked it every day. And that was kind of my reward, was to pull out that book and kind of write in there, what day I'm on, and things like that. And then, and then little benchmarks I'd hit along the way, like my first 1,000 mile mark, 2,000 miles, 3,000 miles, my halfway point, things like that I took it in segments, and adding the string onto the guitar. I know we hadn't talked about the guitar yet, but yeah, I carried this acoustic guitar with me across the country. And I got it out in California through Michael Leahy, who grabbed it. And I think you were the first person to sign it.
Yeah, I believe I was, Van. I received this guitar here through Michael, a mutual friend, another veteran, and he told me about what you were doing. I said, "Oh, what an honor, of course." So I know I threw American Warrior sticker on there. I threw Weapon X sticker on there, and
that went all the way across the nation.
Yep, I remember signing it, and it was a blank canvas when I got it. And by the time I saw it, man, it looked like a NASCAR.
Wow.
It had
that thing is covered in stickers and signatures, and I mean any and everybody kind of people I just ran into along the way. Everybody from 4-year-old girls to major celebrities. It didn't matter. It was just whoever kind of deal, and it's completely covered. And I took all the strings off, and I don't know if Michael told you about that at the time, but it was meant to be symbolic, and so it was just something I can have to kind of as something physical that I can show people and get it through to them what I was doing. And so I took all 6 strings off and made it a playlist guitar symbolizing the veterans who aren't here anymore to play their music for us, meaning their life. And so then every 500 miles I walked, I would put 1 string on. So it was symbolizing healing as it went. So every 500 miles I walked, I'd put a string on. And started with the high E string and went, and then every 500 miles I'd put a string on. When I got to, my 3,000 miles, I was like, well, I still got another 135 miles to go, so I'm good. So when I got to Myrtle Beach, we put that last string on, and symbolizing that it was healed and now it's playable again, and all
How
that.
How amazing
so,
is that? That's really cool, man. It's the first time I'm hearing this story.
Yeah, and I don't know, I don't know if anybody's ever carried an acoustic guitar coast to coast, but no matter what, if I didn't have anything, like there were some legs of the walk where I didn't have my cart, like when I was close to home, I was like, well, let me backpack it for a while and just kind of see how my back feels. And I would do it for a few days, and I was like, okay, I need the cart back. But that guitar went with me everywhere. That thing it went with me every single inch. Anywhere I walked, that guitar went with me. So if I was backpacking, I'd fling that guitar across the front of me, and it went with me. It always went with me. And so that was the one piece. I said, over food and water, this guitar goes. And so no matter what, and then when I had my cart, I just kind of sat it in the front, and it was literally the very front of the cart was the guitar in the basket. And so that thing went everywhere. And
now, Van, you said that it even made an appearance at the Grand Ole Opry?
It sure did. Yeah, I have a really good friend of mine, Mark Wills. He's a member of the Grand Ole Opry, and he followed my walk just like you did, kind of the whole way through. Like and he sent me a message when I was getting close. I think back in November, he says, "Hey," and he had just became a member, and he said, "Hey, when you get back, I want you to be my guest, on stage at the Opry." And I was like, "Oh wow!" And it was his 1 year anniversary of being a member. I said, "That's your day. You don't have to do all that." He goes, "No." So I brought the guitar, and he was one of the last people to sign it, but it went on stage that night at the Opry, and it was a packed crowd that night, and that was January 11th. So it was literally not just over a week after I finished the walk, but it was that was something, yeah.
Now where's the guitar now? You still
So I have it. I still have it. I've been trying to think of things to do. I thought about, and people give you all kinds of advice on what to do. But I was thinking about, once COVID kind of put a lot of things on the back burner, but I was planning on using it as a display piece for the folks at Freedom Sings USA, because they have kind of they have this big room where they write their songs, but they have all these kind of mementos on the walls. And I figured, with all the new veterans coming through there, just to kind of put it in there for them and just let it sit there so it could kind of be like a motivational piece or something, saying, so like the other veterans can tell the story of what that guitar did and where it went and this and that. And maybe it'll help some veterans there. So I thought about kind of donating it to them or putting it on loan with them out there. I've thought about many different things to do with it, but
maybe
right now it's just sitting idle.
Move around a little bit, maybe it's like the Stanley Cup and spend some time, right. It goes over here.
Absolutely. Yeah. I always said that, if I end up doing a book about this adventure, this walk, what I would love to do is actually go and drive my routes. I've met so many people along the way, and these are lifelong friends as people that I met, but I'd love to take the guitar and go and take copies of the book and just stop at these places that I visited and people that helped me out, people that let me stay for free at their houses or their hotels or their B&Bs or whatever, and give them a copy of the book, and show them the guitar and,
I think that sounds amazing. I think that would be a great tour. I think it would be an awesome way to get the information out to everyone about the details of it.
Absolutely.
To take your experience and put it in print and be able to get it online where people can take the whole journey with you, page by page, chapter by chapter.
Absolutely. And everybody's telling me, you need to do this, you need to do that, and that'd just be another way to, keep that kind of, you never know. It's kind of like you do, you never know who's listening, you never know who's reading, you never know who you're going to impact. And I would say, if this walk helped one person, then I've done what I set out to do. I helped myself, but I'd love to help somebody else along the way too. And I'll never know.
Of both worlds, right? The best of both worlds there.
Best of both worlds. And I'll never know how many people I touched. I just will never know how many people, because, all the TV and media and all that, and it's far reaching. So you never know who's listening or who's watching. You just never know.
That's true. Now, what about how many beautiful sunsets and sunrises? I mean, how were some of those experiences? And did you shut it down when it started getting dark? And did you stop? I figured you probably didn't walk too much at night, or maybe you did. I don't.
No, see, that was one of my big rules for myself, was no night walking.
Right, because the danger as well, right?
The danger, and I didn't want to miss anything. I didn't want to miss. You see so much more walking than you do at 70, 80 miles an hour. You just see so much. And you just never know. I mean, you just walk up on things and you're like, wow. But usually as the summer months came, the days got longer, so I was able to do more miles just because I had more daylight. And so, when I first started, I was doing and I wasn't as in shape, so I was doing 10 miles, 12 miles, and that was usually about what I was doing, 14 miles. And I was like, I don't want to break myself off. My goal is to finish it, not hurt myself,
Yeah.
But eventually I was up to 20 miles a day, and the next thing I know, I could easily do, if I did 16 or 17 miles, to me that was a short day. And I was like, I need to do at least 20. I can get at least 20. And I would do between 20, and the highest and most I've ever done today is 27. I was able to do that a few times. But I'd do about 25 or 24, 22 miles, and it just every day was different. But it was out west, the western states was, because it's just more secluded, and the weather and everything, it was just, I was even in an earthquake in Kansas, totally unexpected.
In Kansas? That's where you'd expect a tornado, right? Not an earthquake.
Right. Yeah, and I got chased by some pretty violent storms, especially once I got to the Great Plains. I was literally, I got some funny, really hilarious stories about skunks I ran into, and these storms chasing me and trying to run to cover, and there's nowhere out, in the Midwest, there's just nowhere to go unless you're in a town. But, all kinds of wild, crazy stuff.
Mother
I was sleeping.
Mother Nature's going to throw you some new challenges, right?
Yeah, I didn't even know it was an earthquake. I was sleeping. I found an old salt shed that was unlocked, and I kind of just snuck in because it was supposed to rain that night. And it was unlocked, and I went in there, and I kind of snuck in there and kind of shut the door and slept under there with my cart. And I was like, well, Saturday night, Sunday, it was a construction site. And I was like, well, nobody's going to be here Sunday. I'll just sleep in this thing, and get some overhead cover. And it was empty, and I was like, I'll just leave. No one even know I was here. I did a lot of stealth camping, I called it. Just a lot of stealth camping. I'd sleep in the woods or whatever. I kind of didn't want people to know where I was sleeping, so I could actually sleep in peace and not worry about getting robbed or anything like that,
Sure.
Yeah. It's best to avoid the trouble. I carried a gun and everything I needed, but, it's just best to avoid it anyway. But no, I got shooken awake at 4. I think it was just after 4 in the morning. And it was pitch black dark. So I was like, oh. And I thought I was having a nightmare or a dream or something. And I just kind of went back to sleep. And I was like, wow, that was really realistic. And I laid there a little bit and I fell back asleep. And then when I got into the next town, it was all over the front page of paper. That was an earthquake. And I looked at the time, and sure enough, it was like 4:10 in the morning. And I was like, well, I'll be. I was in an earthquake. Didn't even know it. Yeah. Near Hutchinson, Kansas. I was like, I couldn't believe it.
Oh, wow. Yep. All those experiences. Now,
there's so many.
How many pairs of shoes did you go through?
So I went through, about 6 or 7 pair. I want to say, the first pair I made last a very long time. I wore those Morel Moabs, and the first pair I went about over 500 miles with them, and they were just worn out, raw. I was like, whew, okay, it's time to get new shoes. And finally, I think I grabbed a pair in Colorado, and or Utah or somewhere. But I was like, yeah, it's time to change the tires, because my feet were starting to hurt, and I was like, okay, this is time to get a new pair. And I had some sent to me and got them at a post office, and then I went through, I want to say 6 pair. I kept every pair of them. I still got them all.
That'd be a great museum piece, man.
No kidding, man. There's some that just wore out, yeah. And I was like, somebody, people always give you advice. Well, why don't you try this brand and that brand? I was like, this one's working out. I'm just going to stick with it. I'm just going to.
Yeah, if it's not broke, why fix it, right?
Yeah. So it's not wrong with these.
All right, ladies and gents, we're back here. We just had a few little technical difficulties, so Van's going to pick it right up where we left off.
Yeah. So 6 pair of shoes. That's what I went through on the walk, and then the socks. They were about $15 a pair. And I slowly over my planning period, I just bought like a pair or two a month until I had about 10 pair. And those lasted me the entire walk. I just kept rotating them out. And then some towns I would stay 2 or 3 days, mainly I'd call them 0 days or 0 walk days where I didn't walk and I kind of rest. And on my rest days, I do my laundry and mail stuff home. People give you things, and next thing you know, my cart's 80 to 100 pounds. And so I'd mail stuff home, get some stuff in the mail, and do my refit stuff, do my laundry and stuff like that. So
now, Van, what was in the cart on an average day?
So I had it packed with dehydrated food, which was lightweight. I bought like I think an $80 bucket of just a whole bunch of meals. I had a few MREs, but not many. I had enough of those things.
Yeah, I kept the jar of peanut.
MRE. I was like 20 years of MREs. I've had enough of them.
Right.
So I think I had like 3 MREs, and I went through those before I even got out of Nevada. So, but I had a jar of peanut butter. Everybody who's done a walk said always carry a jar of peanut butter because it keeps. And if you completely run out of food, at least you have peanut butter to get you by to the next town. And so I didn't have to break into it that much. I kept a 5-gallon water bladder on the back of my cart that had a spigot that came off the back. And so all I had to do was stick a water bottle under the spigot and just fill it up. And I definitely, on that 135-mile stretch, that's like I had to ration water. That really stretched my limit because I had 5 gallons and I had to make it last 135 miles. And thankfully it wasn't hot out in the desert at that point. It was like March and April. But yeah, I've had a couple close calls with water.
Just like you said, running low and just
running low. Oh yeah, and it's like like I did have one day. It was March. I'll never forget it because it was like March 27th, I believe. But it was unexpectedly hot that day. It was like cold, and then it was like 88 degrees, and then it was cold again. It was like one day. But I was climbing these mountains, so I did like, I think 16 mountains I climbed up, and they were 10 miles up, 10 miles down in the 20-mile valley. If you've ever walked through Nevada, it's just mountain range after mountain range. I didn't know this, but Nevada has more mountain ranges than any other state in the lower 48. And so
really?
Even more than Colorado.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting. More mountain ranges than any other state. And so I climbed up and over 16 of them just to get across the state. There's no way around them. You have to go up and over them. When you get up to the top, they're several thousand feet higher, and it's snowing, and it's just blizzard. Then you get back down, it's warm again. Then back up into blizzard again, then back down into warm. And so I did that 16 times and 400-something miles. It was crazy.
Imagine those mountains during the pioneer days.
Oh my gosh, yes.
I'm sure you probably did think about that, right?
I was like, wow. I said, those guys had it so much harder because not only that, they had to fight off, the Native Americans. They had to fight cholera. They didn't have bridges to walk across like I did. They had to go through the rivers and the streams and everything. And I was like, wow, what a rough. Like, you really had to be strong back then to deal with all that. That was
paving through
that's some
all
rough
that.
living. And they did it on foot.
Yeah.
Right. I walked the Pony Express. I love history, so I walked, a large portion of the Pony Express Trail. I got to see a lot of the Pony Express Station ruins and, the California Trail and the Immigrant Trail and, the Santa Fe Trail and the Oregon Trail. I got to walk a lot of those. And, in Kansas, I got to walk in the actual wagon ruts. They're still there in some spots in Kansas from the Santa Fe Trail and the Oregon Trail.
That is so cool.
And that's something I would never seen in a car, because if you're not paying attention, you drive right by it and not know. Sure. But it's literally right on the road. It's like, because these highways they built across America, a lot of them followed the old trails, that went out west. And so it's like, wow. I just kept running to this historical. I got to camp on Civil War battlefields. I camped on, goodness gracious, this, Revolutionary War battlefields out in South Carolina. Just unreal. Unreal.
So, man, you would camp out some nights. Some nights you would stay in a hotel, right? And some nights maybe you'd visit and stay with someone that was having you as a guest, right? That's usually
absolutely
how you spent your evenings. Okay.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. It was all a mix. In 310 days, I would say it was about half and half between camping and motels. Once I got more east, the towns were much closer together. And I knew, kind of out east, most towns, like you're usually never 20 miles from the nearest town. And the reason is because back before there were cars, horses could go 20 miles in a day. So if you look at Dallas and Fort Worth, they're just about exactly 20 miles apart because you could get there in a day on a horse without the horse breaking out on you. So, and so once I got like to Missouri, pretty much, most of my towns weren't more than 20 miles away. Some were closer, some were a little bit further, but most of them were within a day's walk.
And so between towns, that's where you kind of maybe you had to raise the ante with making sure your supply cart was good to go, right? Like you could probably maybe not let your guard down on those other closer towns, but you knew that you were going to get there and probably a little less stress, right? Is that accurate?
Yeah. You can kind of let it down a little bit. But I had such a routine from walking out west, just by then, by the time I got to Missouri, 2/3 of my walk was complete. The eastern states are just so small. So it was strange because, like Colorado was over 500 miles long. Kansas was over 500 miles long. Nevada was 450 something miles, I believe. And Utah was 400 miles. And then all of a sudden I get to Missouri, it's 200 something miles. And then I get to Illinois, it's 141 miles. I cut the corner of Indiana, it was only 31 miles. So I went through that town in like a day and a half. And then next thing I know, or that state, next thing I know, I'm in Kentucky. And now I'm crossing giant rivers. And some of these bridges are very narrow and they're not really pedestrian friendly. And
sure.
Pretty bizarre. But next thing I know, I'm like,
quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. Next thing I know, I'm just blowing through states like, oh, wow, Kentucky's only 100 miles. And then Tennessee is 141 and then 90 miles through Alabama. And yeah, so it was like, woo. So it was looking like I was going to finish the walk around December 21st. And I was like, well, let me slow down and pull back a little bit and just drag it out until the 31st of December. I think New Year's Eve and a fresh new year would be a great finish to this, So I kind of dialed it back a little bit and, I was running to more people I knew. I had a veteran come out on Christmas Day and walk with me all day long. On Christmas Day, I mean, he wasn't feeling it. He was lonely. He's like, hey, he was in Georgia. He's like, I'm driving out to South Carolina. I'm gonna meet you. I'll walk with you, so you don't have to be alone on Christmas. And I was like, wow. And he drove 5 hours, walked with me all day. Then he went back to his car, hitchhiked back to his car, then drove 5 hours back to Georgia.
Wow.
On Christmas. And
that's
like, wow.
Dedication right there. You could have called up Hawaiian Santa Claus, too, for Christmas Day there, the guy that you were talking about earlier.
No kidding. Yeah, no kidding. I had so many, it's amazing. I had so many people help me along the way. A lot of those folks, this just really helped me be successful. I had a buddy in Florence, South Carolina, and he helped me on Christmas Eve. My cart broke down. I came off a sidewalk and my axle, not my axle, but the support rod that holds the tire just snapped in half. And if it's Christmas Eve, I'm like, what do? Like everything's closed. And
right, sure.
It's kind of panicked because I can't even walk because I'm in the middle of a city. And I wasn't in the best of neighborhoods. And it's Christmas Eve. And I can't push the cart. I have to pull it. I have to drag it by my hand on 3 wheels. And it's loaded down with all my gear. Camping gear, food, water.
That's no picnic to say the least, right?
Oh, no. My sleeping bag and all that stuff. And that's pretty much what was in my cart. My kerosene cooker, my utensils, little trinkets that people give me along the way. But, I reached out to my girlfriend. I said, hey, I need a Christmas miracle. I need some help. And she got on the internet. And next thing I know, within an hour, this veteran shows up wearing a Christmas suit. He was on his way to a Christmas party, but he dropped everything. And to the dismay of his wife, and he said his whole family's going to be mad at him, but he dropped everything he was doing and headed out there and helped me out. He said, I just need to know what you need. I said, could you just find somebody to store this cart, bring me a backpack. I want to keep walking. I don't want to stop. I'm like 60 miles from finishing my walk. I'm 60 miles from Myrtle Beach. I'll be there in a few days. I just want to keep going. And so he brought me a backpack and he took my cart. And then the cart company found out. And they literally called me on Christmas morning at like 3 a.m. and said, hey, we're rushing you out new tires, all new sets of tires. And I was like, really? And they rushed And so they said those tires will get to you in about 3 days. And by then I was in Conway, South Carolina. So I told my buddy, because I was kind of bummed out because I was like, I pushed this cart across the country. I want to kind of finish with the cart. so I was walking with a backpack, and it was great, and I had the guitar strapped across the front of me, and I'm walking through these blackwater swamps, and and I'm in the low country. Yeah, and it's getting a little humid, and I'm like, oh, it's a little humid for December, I'm sweating, and now I got this big backpack, but he brought my card out to me, and then when he brought my card out to me, he decided to walk with me the whole rest of the way. So he walked the final 10 miles with me all the way to the beach, and not only that, he contacted his contacts, and between him and my girlfriend, like the Patriot Guard riders came out, and it was this huge, big, giant finish. They blocked the roads, and all the media was there. It was insane. And I didn't plan none of this. I'll just finish it, and whatever happens, happens, and I'll just go home.
and the people were there for you.
But man, they came
great.
out in droves. The police department, everybody. I mean, they shut the city down, and it was insane. It was wild. And for the first time on my walk, it was the very last mile. I got to walk in the middle of the road with all the roads blocked and the Patriot riders and the police and everybody. And I was like, you don't have to do that. There's sidewalks here. I like this. There's sidewalks. I could.
Right. I'm used to that, right?
Yeah. I'm like, man, I'm set. There's sidewalks. But nope, we're blocking the entire street off. You're walking straight to the ocean. And sure enough,
man, that ocean air must have smelled so great. That whole that whole experience. I mean,
gosh,
Van, I think you did a great job of really explaining and kind of letting our listeners enjoy this walk with you. I mean, you really kind of put us in the whole atmosphere of it and the feel of it. You really captured that with your explanation of it. I think that's awesome. Oh
gosh, yeah. It was an amazing adventure, and I'm glad I did it. People are like, you gonna do it again? I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think my girlfriend will deal with me being gone another 10 months like that. It's like being gone to Iraq or something. I'm gone for almost a year. But,
sure. Yeah. I mean, that's an amazing thing.
Just the amount of people it helped. I never, I ran into a Navajo Indian out in Utah. This just little things, and he sat with me and he made me an arrow. And then they explained that somebody else had went up in front of me, and I didn't know this, and buried a feather. I guess they say that's like a luck thing, like to wish you well on your journey. And it's like they get it. They kind of, some people don't get it, what I'm doing, but some people do. They like get it. They're like, this is like like a spiritual journey you're on, And somebody had went ahead of me and buried a feather in the ground along my path. And, for like a well wishes kind of thing. And I didn't know that. That was stunning to me. And this man sat and handmade me an arrow. And I was like, oh my gosh, I did everything like as quickly as I could, found a box to mail it home because I didn't want it to get ruined. I didn't want it to get rained on. I didn't want to get warped or ruined or anything. He put beads on it and like all handmade, just like they were made in the old days, and just those little things. So when I see it, it reminds me of those stories and the people I met. And, I took pictures with all these people. And so it's kind of nice to talk to you today and like relive some of that because I haven't thought about it in a little while. And it's like, wow, 2019 was definitely a great year.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing this.
Experience
absolutely. With us, man. Now,
absolutely.
Let's finish up with telling the people, what's up next for Van here. What do you got going on? What's the future look like?
When I came off the walk on the New Year's Eve and I came back home, I thought things would kind of slow down. Well, one thing, I literally drove my car to California and parked it literally in Michael Leahy's driveway, and he watched it for me for the whole time I was gone. Well, when I got back, I had to fly out to California, get my car, and drive it back. And then it got real busy, so I was doing all these like little speaking engagements kind of locally, and people were inviting me out to all these events to kind of talk about what I did. And then one day in March, everything came to a screeching halt. It just bam. And so I had a lot of things that were, I had bookings and things that people invited me to. And I was like, yeah, sure. If it's going to help veterans, I did, 22Ks. I was invited to these 22K walks. And all these things were planned, but everything literally got canceled. So it just wiped my whole calendar clean. Some things got rescheduled, and I ended up doing the Until Valhalla 22K in Mississippi. Was supposed to spend in March, and then it got moved to June, which was incredibly humid. And and then I got and some of these events coming now that were pushed off are coming up. I got a trip out to Zion, Utah, with, and this is an amazing story. I don't know how much time I have, but I met a lady in Nevada on the side of the road. And she said, hey, about almost a year ago, there was a young lady who's a veteran who bicycled across America. And she put me in touch with her to come find out this young lady's also from Nashville, Tennessee. She's a combat veteran herself. And she bicycled across the country. She was unfortunately ran off the road by a vehicle, and she got injured pretty bad, and she had to put her bicycle right on hold. She recovered and she finished it. But she bicycled along almost the same route I did on Highway 50, especially out west. Well, she has a nonprofit she's starting up called Waypoint Vets, and what she does is she sends veterans on these hiking trips and stuff. And her first one's coming up. It was supposed to happen in June. She asked me to go on it and kind of, talk to the veterans and stuff like that. So I'm doing that in October out in Zion National Park. It's their first trip that they're doing. And then I'm doing a 22K with Shawn, who's out in Florence, South Carolina. He's the guy that helped me out on Christmas Eve. He asked me to come out and do a 22K with him, and I said, yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to go out there and walk, do a 22K with him, and that's in, I believe, September. And I'm about to take off. In about 2 days, I'm driving out to Seattle to see my kids. I haven't seen them in a while. And then my father lives in New York, in Syracuse. And then so I'm going to see
not too far from me, about 2 hours down the road. Yeah.
And I know all about Western New York. I was actually stationed there for 3 years.
Fort Drum?
No. I was in Olean, Cattaraugus County.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. I was there as a recruiter for 3 years. All my time as infantryman, then they nailed me for recruiting. So I did recruiting just south of Buffalo down there. So, I was in the Buffalo general area there for 3 years. And worked in Allegheny County, Cattaraugus County. Stationed there for a while. My brother and father live in New York. And so I'll go see them in the next coming weeks. And hopefully they'll open the border to Canada because my sister lives just across the border in Canada. And so,
I hope that happens here soon for everyone. Yeah.
They were supposed to open the border July 21st, and they pushed it to August 21st. So maybe I'll catch it, maybe I won't, but it's going to be hard traveling with all this going on. So
some great family time ahead and some more veteran cause work, right?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Absolutely. That's
like for vets.
In a nutshell. In a nutshell, that's what's coming. Some more veteran work, and I'm still on the board here on my. I do a lot of volunteering. Tennessee's called the volunteer state, and so
and it earns
its
name
a lot of volunteering
very, very
here.
well.
Oh yeah. Yes sir. We do a lot of volunteering around here. So that's pretty much what I'll be doing. I'm trying to get my hands on whatever I can get into.
We can't wait to meet you in person, Van. I mean, I knew it was going to be a great time here with you today, and you definitely did not disappoint. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day here to spend time with us and our listeners.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And I really appreciate it. I mean, what you guys do with the concerts and everything, I would love to get out and see one of those shows sometime. And just, it's a great networking opportunity. You go out there and you meet other veterans. You never know, who you're going to impact or what life you're going to change, and you just never know.
Absolutely,
it's amazing.
This is a home for veterans. American Warrior Festival. It's all about our veteran family, our current troops, and the community as a whole that supports everything we do.
Right.
It's our home and our way to kind of extend the camaraderie between us all.
Absolutely. So, it's great stuff. I love it.
So, Van, let's tell people, how do they get a hold of you? People want to, have you go to a speaking engagement or get to talk about your story. How do they find you?
Well, I'm on Facebook, just Van Booth, or I have a Walking for Life page, just Walking for Life, and I'm also, I'm on Instagram and Twitter and all that good stuff, pretty much those socials. So I'm on there, just Van Booth.
All right. Yeah, well, and if anyone needs to get a hold of Van and has any problems with that, they can contact us, and we'll make sure we get you directed over here to Van. So,
absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So I tell you what, brother, why don't you enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll be in touch, and hopefully get a chance to hang out here very soon.
Oh, yeah. I'll have to make it a point to come see you when I get out to California again. It won't be long. I like to travel. I like to keep moving. One foot in front of the other, right?
Yep, that's right. There you go. Nice work,
Gotta
man.
keep moving. Keep moving.
And you can find me. The majority of the time I'll be in New York and California, and if I'm not there, I'll be in Texas or Tennessee or wherever the American Warrior takes us. So
nice. Well, hopefully soon, maybe in 2021 or something. Maybe
I'm with you, brother. I'm with you on that.
See.
Let's get opened up and start playing some music here as soon as we can.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was our good friend Van Booth with Walking for Life. The American Warrior Festival podcast, brought to you by Oliver's Candies, the creator of the American Warrior Festival Candy Bar. Oliver's Candies is proud to offer you the largest selection of award-winning chocolates made in Western New York. Visit them online at oliverscandies.com. That last group of songs was Free Bleeder with Minutes Seem Like Minutes and Weapon X with Viking Chug. All hail Viking Chug. Please welcome my Marine Corps brother and Veterans Outreach Program Specialist at the Rochester Vet Center, Shawn Crandall. Shawn, how's it going, man?
Hey, man, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Anytime. So, now, Shawn and I, we met each other at the American Warrior Festival at the Ridge in 2017. I believe that was the year. And Shawn was kind enough to bring the big mobile VA unit there to help out veterans with their benefits. So, Shawn, why don't we tell people a little bit about your military background and you know how you got started in veteran causes and all that good stuff.
Okay. Well, I joined the Marine Corps in January of 1992. Did 4 years. Got out. Thought grass was greener on the other side. Then I decided to go back in. I was a comm center operator for 4 years, and then a helicopter crew chief on the CH-46 Echoes for 6 years after that, till I got broken. And then I got out, and I've always had a passion for veterans because I am one, and I relate to them best. And so I got out. I had a troubled time getting out. I had a hard time readjusting. Went to college. Wasn't for me. Then I started at the VA and finished my degree. Started in housekeeping, and I've worked my way to where I am now as an outreach person for the Rochester Vet Center. I drive a 40-foot mobile vehicle, and I outreach to veterans and let them know about the VA, the Vet Center, how to get connected, making sure they're getting taken care of, and helping them out of any way I can.
And Shawn, Shawn does a great job of this. He's just one of those guys that, a veteran really needs some help. He's got that inviting smile and that demeanor. And, you've been there, brother, so they trust in you. And I've seen a few veterans come out of that truck with, smiles on their faces and, some hope with what's going to go on with their benefits. And you could tell that some of the frustration goes away that they might have. So go ahead and tell us a little bit about that when a vet comes in and.
Well, typically my job is very unique in the sense that I get to talk to people just where they are and how they are and where they come. So it's pretty cool to see, veterans typically have one or two outlooks at the VA. One, they hate the VA, or two, that they love the VA. So you get them both, and you never know what you're going to get when they come in. I particularly like the ones that are disgruntled and don't like the VA and what the VA has to do because, they've had a bad experience. And usually that experience is due to the fact that, they didn't know the system or they didn't know who to talk to and they didn't talk to the right person. And my job is so much fun when I can take one of those people and say, hey, what's going on? You can't help me. The VA sucks. I said, give me a shot. And I give them a chance to go ahead and say, hey, look, let me help you with this. And they give me a chance and I'm able to turn it around and get them the help that they needed or wanted and change their outlook on the whole thing. That's the biggest reward to me.
And that has to feel special when you see them kind of let their guard down a little bit. All right. Like, they went in there and they kind of had a preconceived idea of the VA and you're able to kind of reverse that a little bit, or at least get them thinking about it and saying that, hey, there might be something here for me. Let me keep following the process.
Yeah, give them a little hope that somebody might be able to help them and might take care of them. And that goes a long way with veterans, especially ones that have had bad experiences.
Very true. Very true. Now, Shawn, what are some of the things that, vets bring up to you, or what kind of things can they bring up to you?
Man, vets can come to me with anything. I am not the best person at everything, but I know a little bit about everything. I'm kind of like a jack of all trades. I may not know the answer, but if I don't, I know somebody who does. I'm very connected with the Veterans Benefits Administration. I'm connected with the VA, and also, I work for the Vet Center, so I'm connected with all the counseling that we do there.
Yeah, so you're going to either be able to help them right away or connect them to the people that are. And Shawn has done this for me a few times already with veterans I brought to him. And you're always very reachable, brother, and I appreciate that. You've been a great asset to the veteran community here. And everyone knows Shawn. You say, Shawn Crandall. I mean, 8 out of 10 veterans, it seems, know who Shawn is and what he's doing. So that means you're getting out there. And you guys will, I mean, first off, how you fit that truck in half the places where you bring it is like right there. Your driving skills, man, and how you maneuver that big ass vehicle is impressive in its own right.
Well, thanks. It is a pain in the ass sometimes, I tell you. It really is. But it's pretty good. It takes some getting used to, that's for sure.
Now, what are some of maybe the craziest places you've tried to had to fit that vehicle, or maybe some of the more challenging stories of finding out where you were going to park? I just think that's kind of an interesting.
Well, the craziest thing was when I went into a hotel one night, and the vehicle fits in 5 spaces. Okay, I packed it, parked it in the I parked it in the back of a parking lot, took up the 5 spaces, and I was in the very back and didn't know that the hotel was going to get jam-packed. I came out the next morning. There was a car behind me on the grass and a car in front of me in the spot in front of me, and I had to maneuver it out of there. And it took me about a 37-point turn to get it out of there. I had like 6 inches. It was pretty crazy. I've taken it to New York City. That's a fun feat.
Yeah, that doesn't sound fun at all. I mean, that sounds like a nightmare scenario. Oh man,
I was squeezing cheeks the whole time.
Right. You probably need a towel to dry off after a park job like that, man.
Yeah. New York City's fun. It's usually pretty good. The overpasses you got to watch, but the real trick is when you get to the narrow roadways. My vehicle is 10 feet wide, and I think it's 11 feet for a lane in the road. And when they go to back down and have construction, it gets kind of hairy sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, now, do you guys have to get any special licensing to drive those vehicles? I mean, are they past a certain size? I mean,
nope. Believe it or not, it doesn't have air brakes, and it is 1/10 of an inch shorter than you need for a CDL. So I just have a regular driver's license.
Nice. That's really cool. And now, there's vet centers across the country, right, Shawn? I mean, like
there's 300 of them across the nation. There's 80 vet center, mobile vet centers across the nation. And we reach out to everywhere. So, within an hour and a half, 2 hours of anywhere, there's a vet center.
And see, now, Shawn, I mean, the mission statement behind the vet center is probably, it is to be that bridge from a veteran who just got out and he or she's trying to navigate the waters of getting their VA benefits. Is that pretty safe to say? And you're kind of like, oh, really?
No. What we do at the vet center is we provide counseling services for all war zone veterans, spouses, their families, all military sexual trauma cases, and bereavement counseling for those that have lost a loved one in the service. So basically, if it's got counseling in it, we do it. My job is unique to where I go out and I find the veterans and I try and get them connected. So I go out and find those war zone veterans that, are having a hard time after they getting out, and it's readjustment counseling service. So it's readjusting back to the civilian life. And that's what we do. We see a lot of people that may or may not have a problem knowing if someone knew that they were getting help. We're very secure and very private. We are part of the VA, but we're like the Marine Corps. We're the redheaded stepchildren. I say that jokingly.
Nice.
No, we're an offshoot of the VA. We can see the VA records to help a veteran, but the VA cannot see ours. We have a completely separate system, just to help the veterans. So that's what we do. Now, we were founded in 1979, I believe, when the Vietnam veterans came back and they were having a hard time with the VA and this thing that they call PTSD, or shell shock, as it was the time before then. And the Vietnam veterans weren't getting help. And they said, well, we need a safe place where we can go and get counseling for this thing called PTSD. And so Congress then said, hey, look, we're going to give you 3 years, 1 year to ramp up the program, 1 year to cure PTSD, and 1 year to shut down. And, 40 something years later, we're going strong.
Yeah, right.
We're treating a lot of veterans.
Really no expiration date on what you guys are doing.
No, and Congress keeps, funding us. So, we're good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Shawn.
We got 300 vet centers, and we're growing them more because the need is great out there. Guys are coming back every day from overseas, and they need to talk to somebody. And if they do, we're here, and they need to know that it's a safe place where our records are sealed. Nobody gets to see our records unless one of three things happens. One, you're a threat to yourself or others, and obviously we gotta help you. Two, a federal judge says we need in your records, and then you're going to sign a release of information, so that your records went out to the judge. Or if you sign a release of information, then we'll release your records to whoever you say. But other than that, your records are sealed.
So veterans can come in and really feel, comfort that their records are going to stay, where they should and behind the scenes. Yeah,
correct. And especially like in New York State, with the SAFE Act and the reporting and all this other stuff, right. We're a federal agency. We don't have to follow those guidelines, to release records to the state like some of the states want, because we are so it's very, very secure. We see a lot of high profile people, some people that you wouldn't think, but they're people too. We see cops, we see Secret Service agents, we see, federal officials and stuff like that. So we're here to help everybody, all veterans. And it doesn't matter what your discharge type is. We see people that have honorables, we see people that have dishonorable discharges. We see everybody. If you're a war zone, if you are a war zone veteran, or you suffer from military sexual trauma, or bereavement counseling for those that have lost a loved one in the service, we will see you. All we need to see is your DD-214, and you're in.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome work you guys are doing. Now, see, Shawn, that's a testament to all the great things you do, because I can think of any veteran-related situation, and you're a great place to start. So you've done so many things, or led us to people that can help with so many different things, that I guess the counseling part of what you guys do, which I knew was part of the whole thing, but that is the bread and butter. That's the primary focus of what you guys do, is those counseling services.
That is the primary mission of the Vet Center. Outreach is the secondary mission, and I'm the outreach person for our Vet Center. Like I said, there's 300 Vet Centers, and there's 300 of me out there somewhere. And we're just trying to connect veterans and help them. One thing I forgot to mention about the Vet Center is the Vet Center opened as a peer-to-peer, which means the Vietnam veterans were treating other Vietnam veterans. And by design, over half of our staff at every vet center, it's supposed to be half, it's usually more than half, are veterans. So it's veterans helping veterans. It's really unique.
That's a great way to go about it too, because the comfort level when you walk in and talk to another veteran, especially the way you put it, Shawn.
If you speak the language, you got to speak the language and understand them. And if you can understand them and reach them, then you're going to have a better outcome than somebody that doesn't. Now, there are, like I said, we're half and half. The counselors that we do have are so experienced, they've come from other places like the VA, or, they've done it for so long that they understand the language. You know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely.
So
now, what kind of events will you guys attend? I mean, how do you decide on taking on a new event and bringing the truck down? I guess we could start there, and then we could talk about how we've worked together over the years.
So that's my job. I have a great director, and he, I started off and I was the first person to have the mobile vet center in Rochester. It's a brand new vehicle to me and to the vet center. And basically what I do is I go out and I meet people where they are, where the veterans hang out. Well, shoot, they hang out at Lowe's, the Home Depot, Walmart. They're everywhere. Veterans are everywhere. You can't just tell a veteran by looking at them. So you go out and find them where they are. Now I go out and do events also. I'm at the Erie County Fair. I'm at the New York State Fair, some of my biggest events, the American Warrior Festival, all kinds of festivals and events where, people are. And, veterans go where everybody else goes. It's not just gun shows and shooting ranges. I do go to those places too. I mean, great place to, meet veterans. They love guns and they love, beer. I try to stay out of the beer joints. But, I can go I can go anywhere where veterans may congregate within reason.
Yeah. And see, get them where they are. And then now once you set up, will they kind of walk up on their own? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of different things going on there.
So I set up and I have the hands-off approach. I don't approach veterans. I'm just there. I'm out there. I'm sitting out there. And if somebody comes up and wants to shoot the breeze, absolutely, let's talk. I'm not there to sell anything. I'm not there to tell them how to do something or, I'll initiate an engagement and say hello. I'm not rude, but it's up to the veteran that has questions, and I'll answer any question for anybody. The veterans are awesome, and they usually like to talk to other veterans and, hey, what are you doing here? Hey, I'm doing this. And they'll be like, oh, that's cool. And then we'll just strike up a conversation. And if it gets to benefits, it gets to benefits. If it gets to counseling, it gets to counseling. If it's just a casual conversation, and then that's what it is.
And all of those things are okay. You're just really,
absolutely,
you're there to outreach and to talk to veterans and just get in front of them, and they'll feel more comfortable too if they're not getting that pressure of someone kind of pushing it on them.
Yeah, you have to have a no pressure approach because, look, who's going to talk to you and really open up if you're pressuring them for information?
Right. They're automatically going to put the guard up and say, wait a second, I'm not really comfortable.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now what are the territories that you cover? Your vet center?
My vet center covers 12 counties in New York State, but my mobile vet center covers half the state of New York. So my coverage without asking for permission to go anywhere is from Interstate 81 west in the state of New York. And then my region is from Maine to the southern border of North Carolina to the edge of Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and down that way.
Wow. So that territory, you just have to get permission.
Well, I can call. Yeah, usually because there's 17 of our mobile vet centers in that area. So I have other guys that can go there that may be closer. So if they're not available or, there's a special need that comes up, then they'll call me and say, hey, can you do this? And, I have bus will travel. So that's my motto. So if they need me, I'm there.
Now, do you enjoy taking some of the longer trips?
Yeah, I love it. Okay. Yeah, I love it. Now, we do a lot of Vietnam moving walls because, it's a very emotional thing for veterans, for the Vietnam veterans to go to the wall. So we usually take counselors with us, to help these guys that go to the wall and are feeling some of the things that they used to feel.
Right. Yeah, that makes all the sense in the world right there. And Shawn, I know this was a tough loss for us this year when we had the veteran motorcycle run attached to the Rochester American Warrior this year. And I saw a picture of the same group that was going to be there, and it was bikes as far as the eye could see.
Oh, wow.
And so what we decided to do there is we didn't even cancel the event page. We changed the date till June of 2021, and we're going to have that same group. So it's going to be nice in Rochester to have that veteran motorcycle run attached to it. And I think that's what we can expect for our event in Rochester every year, is being attached to that group. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. Just let me know when and where to be, and I'll be there.
You always are, brother, and we definitely appreciate that. Now, working with all of the other, like the private nonprofit veteran groups around the state and throughout the country, how do you find that? Working with them, how does that work well with you guys? How does it supplement? Tell us a little bit about that relationship.
Well, my interaction with those groups are far and wide.
Right.
I meet so many people, and so many people do such good work. I try to be a conduit to help veterans if I see a need with a couple groups, and a veteran comes up and can use a support group. They've got a Got Your Six in the Binghamton area. I direct them to that. I direct them to any area where a veteran can get help. If they need it. We have a Wayne County Veteran Service Advisory Committee group that meets up here in Wayne County, New York, which helps out veterans a lot. And it's just based on the need.
Sure, you're going to go wherever the help is needed there and focus on that. And and I notice when we can work together and build the relationships, everyone wins. We're all in this together. Helping veterans is the main mission. And I would like to see more of that. And I think we're doing a good job of it, but I would like to see it improve even where all the different programs and all the different organizations find a way to work together. And I notice that throughout the country too. When you're able to get these organizations that do different things, that's when it's great. Like, and you see everyone can work off of each other. I know when organizations do similar things, there can be a little bit of that competition. And, I think as long as we always keep the veterans and helping them at the forefront, we're going to be doing our job.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more.
And you do a phenomenal job of introducing us to people. And we've met a couple of very good groups through you. We had a mutual friend, Major Bertram, on episode 3, I believe he was on, and telling us about RIT. And now you work with that group as well, right?
I do. I work with the Veterans Upward Bound for sure.
Nice. So it even extends into the education and all that good stuff.
Oh yeah.
So now we have a bunch of cool things that we're going to be moving forward with here. Like the concerts will always be the number one thing we do as far as our vehicle to reach veterans. But as you know, we've talked about this a few times. I'd like to get you in as soon as fans can go back to baseball games. I'd like to get you in one of those Yankee suites with us, buddy. I'd
love to go.
I think you'd enjoy yourself. Yeah. And, the battlefield destinations, that's another thing we're looking to get into. Like you mentioned earlier, we're working on firing range events, not only here in Western New York with the firing pin, but also in Nashville and a few other places. Yep. We got the motorcycle runs going, and then we're getting into the fitness boot camps and the workouts. So we're going to have a bunch of different kinds of events for you to attach to and to spend time at. So we'll keep you posted.
I'm more than happy to go.
Yep, and you enjoying the podcast so far? I don't know if you got a chance to check anything out yet, but we're real happy to have you on today and on episode 6 here.
Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. I'm loving it.
It's a great way for us, Shawn, to reach all the people while we're kind of down here with events a little bit. It's been a way for us to stay proactive and to get the word out and to highlight all the great organizations that we are working with. So, yeah, we've been real happy here at the podcast thus far.
That's awesome.
Yep. So I tell you what, I know you got a busy day ahead of you here, so I'm not going to keep you much longer. Let's go ahead and tell the people the best way to get a hold of you. And Don will also put this information on the screen so people know how to get a hold of you guys. So why don't you go ahead and tell us? Okay.
The best way to get a hold of the Vet Center is 1-877-WAR-VETS is the phone number. My cell phone is 585-362-3317. You guys can reach me during business hours. And that's the best way to get a hold of me for events, or if you just want to shoot the breeze.
Awesome. And I encourage any veteran that really would like to talk or just be around all the veteran causes and different things we have going on around here, Shawn's a great resource. He's going to be a friendly face. He's not going to put any pressure. So I highly encourage you explore that option. So I tell you what, brother, I always appreciate our time together. And now I know we've been talking about it a while. We have to try to pin down some time to go up to the cabins like we talked about it.
Absolutely.
I think we are. We just have to like pick a time on the calendar and let it go, right? Let it roll.
I'm with you.
All right. So, all right, friends, that's Shawn Crandall he's a Veterans Outreach Program Specialist at the Rochester Vet Center. You take care, Shawn.
Hey, thanks, Dan.
All right. Here's Weapon X again with These Wounds. What an interesting episode. It was awesome hearing about Van's story and Shawn's contribution to the veteran community. As always, we appreciate you spending your time with us. We've decided to release new episodes bi-weekly going forward, so you'll be hearing from us soon. In closing, we'd like to thank our brand new patrons, Jen Hicksonbaugh, Ginger Overall, and Joel Patterson. We really appreciate the support. Until next time, friends, take care.
What's going on, everybody? Don T. Pena here. Just wanted to take a minute to thank our fellow Patreon supporters and let you know that if you wanted to become a fellow supporter of our podcast, all you got to do is click on the link below that is in your show notes. Or if you're listening to this / watching this on YouTube, all you got to do is go to the video description. We will have a link to the Patreon page right there in that description as well. And that will take you to the homepage where you can see the 6 different options for our Patreon program. Feel free to browse through it, guys. Click on them, see which one best suits you, and any support, any help that you guys would offer us is much appreciated. It helps us put more content out for you and push this podcast to that next level. Once again, guys, thank you for all your support. We're going to continue to do our job. You guys have a great rest of your day. We're out.
The American Warrior Festival podcast is brought to you by the Red Osier Landmark Restaurant, Oliver's Candies, Smokin' Eagle Barbecue and Brew, The Firing Pin, Orcon Industries, Ken Barrett Chevrolet Cadillac, TF Browns, One LLP, Batavia Legal Printing, GunTrack App, and AmeriHome Healthcare.
This is Candy. You're listening to the American Warrior Festival podcast.